The opening round of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series struck fear in everyone's hearts because Kailub Russell on the number one got away from everyone else and checked out. The sand of Florida had been the one terrain that had confounded the two-time and defending champ. So what's going to happen now in the dirt? It's time for round two of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Maxxis. It's an AMA National Championship, the venerable General GNCC in Georgia. Maxxis, our title sponsor for this event, as it always has been. And like we often do get here as well, some mud. Now, last year's race was just an epic mudder. It wasn't even muddy, it was just straight up water. This one pretty sloppy. We'll see how it affects the racing. We're ready here on Racer TV for the Maxxis General GNCC, and Kailub Russell, your defending and two-time champ on the FMF KTM, gets the start. And that's not good. He's won a lot of races the last few years without getting hole shots, but he said they've made major changes this year to the way the bike fires. Simply put, the electric start of the KTM didn't light off the line as quickly as the other bikes. This year they've got it figured out. He leads Jordan Ashburn on the NFAB Am Pro Yamaha into the woods. Here is your XC2 class for the 250cc bikes. And a good battle here. Nick Davis on that Husky, but sneaking through on the inside. Oh, and turning into the outside line. Nicely done. That's Lojak, Ryan Lojak, the blue Yamaha, pushed back to second now. Nick Davis going to grab the lead, but the whole shot and $100 from Hot Cams going to Lojak, who's now up into second. Got to watch for Jason Thomas, though, former champion of this class, now back in it this year. Back out front in XC1, look at Ryan Sipes on the Air Group Rockstar Husky, keeping Russell honest, and there's no doubt that Sipes can go fast. 10 years as a pro motocross and supercross rider. He won a bunch of light supercross races. He can go. It's his second year as a GNCC racer. We're going to see if he picks it up this season and can challenge Russell for wins. There's Josh Strang, last year's number 2, also on a Rockstar Husky. Let's keep tabs on Russell versus Sipes early. Sipes very fast also at our opener in Florida, but then made a few mistakes and lost some ground. All right, Sipes again keeping him in sight. I think that's Russell Bobbitt there, Georgia native. Multi-time national enduro champ. He always is strong early in the races especially. Knows how to read the terrain. And there's Strang, who is chasing Ashburn. A little muddy through that section there, but I got to say it's actually pretty good considering how muddy it could have been. Here's XC2. Jason Thomas on that DirtWise ShaneWatts.com. KTM has taken the lead now from Davis. Lojak losing a little bit of ground here. And this is always a big class. A lot of young riders. And Grant Baylor, last year's champ, actually the champ the last 2 years, has moved out. So the door is open for riders to get race wins or even battle for a title this year. Baylor now with NFAB Am Pro Yamaha. Some hoping he could challenge this guy, Kailub Russell, but today it's going to be tough for Baylor or anyone. Russell got that All Balls Racing Whole Shot Award, and we've seen him come from behind to get these kind of leads. So now that he has it early, it's going to be that much easier. You see Strang, Sipes, Bobbitt still battling. Here comes Ashburn. And waiting to see the level Ashburn can get to. He has improved year in and year out in this XC1 class. Last year even got to get to the point where he was leading events at times. And we'll see if this is the year that he breaks through for a victory. Hey, look at Sipes back there. He's closed it back in on Russell. So after a dominant round one in the sand for the champ, they're bringing the heat this time. Good to see it. And again, this section is difficult, but I've seen a lot worse at the General GNCC for sure. And these guys are flying information. They're going together. I think we have the Johnny Campbell Racing Honda rider of Chris Bach right here getting through. A long, lanky rider out of Indiana. And now it's Thad Duval on the KR4 Fred Andrews Racing Husqvarna. Rest of the field coming through. Here's one of the AmPro Yamaha riders. I think that's Grant Baylor. And you also have to watch for Daniel Milner, who's an Australian on the Yamaha now. He just came through, and a lot of people saying big things about his speed, but hasn't showed it at the start of this one. I think he's got a lot of learning, obviously, to do coming over from Australia, now racing here in the U.S. Russell splashing through on his KTM 350 XC, and every time we see him, we see Sipes back there lurking. Sipes, by the way, is on a 350 now as well. Raced a 450 KTM last year, now on the Husqvarna, and now a 350. A little bit easier to manage in the woods. And Bobbitt now under fire from Strang. So a good little battle building up there. They've gotten a slip on Ashburn. Here he is. He's lost a little bit of ground, but he's trying to make it back up. Nice job wheeling through the mud. Young man out of Tennessee. Nice kid, great family out here as well. Oh, straight up mud bogging through here. Russell takes a look over. Let's see how close Sipes is as the champ tries to get away. And it's these conditions where Russell has really improved through the last couple of years. He wasn't much of a mud rider when he first came onto the big bikes, even in the amateur ranks, but he has definitely figured it out. And as most of the riders tell you, it's really just a mental game in the mud. If you know you're going to do well and you have fun with it and you're not stressed on it, you can do okay. There's Bobbitt and Strang. I think we missed Sipes. He just went through the camera shot. So 2 battles. Sipes and Russell up front, Bobbitt and Strang in a private duel for third. Ashburn, he's in 5th. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL. And by Rocky Mountain ATV-MC. Kailub Russell continues to lead through the very muddy and wet Georgia clay here at the Maxxis General GNCC, but look at Ryan Sipes not going anywhere except finding some new ground. Good line selection from Sipes, and he is keeping your leader in check. And another Husqvarna now in the top 3. Josh Strang out of Australia. He's made the pass on Bobbitt. So Huskies are 2nd and 3rd. And I was hanging out down at the opener. Oh, Bobbitt makes a mistake. And I'm telling you, Bobbitt is as skilled as they get in technical wood sections, and even he goes down. So that shows you how tough that section is as Ashburn rolls by. And Bobbitt is an enduro specialist, and the big difference between enduros and GNCC, it's not that it's just the terrain. The terrain is a little bit different. They're generally a little bit tighter. But the bigger difference is how fresh the trail is. Here we're going to do multiple laps of this track. In an enduro, these days they're not even allowed to walk or look the track over, and they only ride each section 1 time. So Bobbitt is very good at the beginning of the races, figuring the track out on the first lap. A lot of these guys take a little while to get going, but the fitness issue, at an enduro you get to stop here and there, and they have what they call resets. These guys, no brakes, so they just keep getting stronger and stronger as the race goes on. If Bobbitt put the full focus, though, on GNCC, I guarantee you he could do some serious damage. He's a real talent. As we go back to Duval, who's trying to get into this battle, trying to make his way into the top 5. Bad That has always been bad fast. Great talent through the ranks of GNCC Racing. Has had his highs and lows as a pro, but it really seems to have found a great home here with Fred Andrews' team. Now they've got some help from Husqvarna as well. Russell extending it just a little bit now over Sipes. No, wait, that's not Sipes, that's Strang. So Sipes has had a problem, and Strang, 2nd at the opener, 2nd in the points last year, 2nd now in this race. There is Sipes back in 3rd on the Air Group Rockstar Husky. And Ashburn and Duval hooking it up. So great racing. 4 riders back here. Strang, Sipes, Ashburn, and Duval having a good battle, but they don't want to hear any of that. They don't want to battle each other. They want to catch this guy. And the crowd loving what they're seeing out of your champion. And it's crazy to think we're only the 2nd round of the series, and we're not even halfway through the race. But already at our opener in Florida, as Strang comes through in 2nd, there was some buzz about Russell potentially putting the perfect season, 13 wins, into play. And the thing that really built that, last year Russell wrapped up the title early Then he raced a 152 stroke at our last 2 rounds. Strang beat him on a 450 at our next to last race. The last year's season finale, as you hear Ashburn revving his engine to get the lap riders out of the way. Last year's series finale, Russell won it overall on a 152 stroke, which really showed the gap he had built up over the competition. Plus, the rider who would generally be challenging him most often for these race wins, his teammate Charlie Mullins, is out possibly for the year with recurring wrist problems dating back to a crash last spring. So with Mullins out and Russell apparently still getting faster and faster each year, well, this is the kind of damage people expect. And he's got the starts figured out too. Look at the lead he has begun to build up. And Strang, who's stuck behind this lapper, he is a world-class rider, former champion of this series. He was the one that was able to put it to Russell when Russell tried the 150 the first time. And Strang's in great shape. He works very hard at it. He's obviously very comfortable in this type of terrain with the great success he's had in the past. These are not slouches by any means. But Kailub Russell is just on a very special level right now, and he's once again pulling away from the field. And Strang, to his credit, he's pulling away from everyone else. Russell going to check in here. Open up to where the spectators are again. And log another lap led. He led all of them in Florida. Let's see if he can do that potentially again today. I guarantee you his goal is to not let anyone get close enough. Just manage that lead. Although Strang not too far back. Nice little run here from Josh. So it might not be over. You know, Strang does not want to finish second. There's no doubt, like I said, the effort is there, the desire. Let's see if he's fast enough to catch Russell and make a go of it. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We're going to watch Kailub Russell in action here. Wheelies through that low section in the bottom where it's muddy. Good traction up top now. The track has dried out a little bit. Takes the pit board from the mechanic and complete control of this race. Here's Strang back here in second. Talked to Russell not that long ago, and he really feels like the difference now is he has a game plan. He knows exactly what he wants to do when he comes to these races, and he's just so much more relaxed that way. Knows how he wants to manage it, and does a lot of work just trying to figure out how he wants the race to play out in his head. It kind of reminds me a lot of Rodney Smith, 5-time champion of this series. And Smith, as much as he worked on training and riding the motorcycle and testing the bike, one of his strengths was just race strategy, thinking about how he wants the races to play out. And Russell, big part of that is getting the bike figured out off the start. Now that that thing lights quickly and he can get hole shots, well, he can manage the race from the front. And here's Strang, who we've seen time and time again, match the pace of Russell and the endurance late in the game. But Russell is able to very quickly make things happen early and get out front. So Strang is going to have to hope for a mistake right now if he wants to catch Russell. And look at how hard he's riding. I mean, he has built up a nice gap over everyone else. You have Duval now up to third. We saw Bobbitt have the crash earlier. Russell has taken the measure of Ashburn. Or sorry, Duval has taken the measure of Ashburn to get into third. And Russell back into the woods. Man, it seems like every time we see Strang, he's got lap riders to deal with. And he would do anything, I think, to be able to see Russell right now. Because you can see him, it's a lot easier to catch them. And that's probably the way Duval feels. Did not get the start today. Had to do some work. Now that he's gotten a third, doesn't have anyone to follow. So the gaps have definitely opened up. And I've been wondering the last couple of years, we've seen this type of thing happen. It used to be 10, 15 years ago in this championship, a rider simply could not lead one of these things from beginning to end. It was impossible. The faster you went, It just led to mistakes and crashes on this rough terrain. You'd tag lap riders, and often riders would just save their energy and hang back because they knew if they tried to make a sprint, it wasn't going to get you anywhere. I used to call the lap riders basically the pace car. But somewhere along the way, the riders figured out how to be perfect. And not just Russell. It really started when Juha Salminen and David Knight came over from Europe in the mid part of the previous decade. We saw Strang put in rides like that en route to a title. Charlie Mullins has done it. And now Russell as well, leading these things from wire to wire. Like I said, once impossible, now becoming more and more commonplace. And I've asked a lot of the riders about this, and even some veteran race watchers. And the theory is the riders and their skills are just so impressive these days. You're looking at Russell and Duval, for example, who grew up racing GNCC as youth riders. They're just so proficient in this type of terrain and so good at managing the race. They've dealt with lapped riders and changing lines their entire life. They don't make the mistakes that we used to see back then. And here it is, Kailub Russell. Whoa, there's one tiny mistake, but for him, you'll take that. Doesn't put the bike on the ground and just up on the pegs, very low in the RPM, so it doesn't spin that back tire. Strang having to be a little bit more deliberate through these sections as he tries to close in. Track's actually dried out pretty well. It's probably tacky down here in the woods now. And here's Duval in third. And these guys are definitely working hard as we close in on the finale of this Maxxis General GNCC. By the way, Ashburn and Bach are now 4th and 5th. Sipes has dropped back, and Grant Baylor is in 6th. Sipes, by the way, got stuck in a mud hole. That's what cost him big time. He's now way back. And Strang, at one point, bent a front brake rotor and had to stop in the pits for repairs. So that's all cost him a shot at stopping this guy. And Kailub Russell is going to win the Maxxis General GNCC. A war of attrition for everyone else. As we mentioned, a unscheduled pit stop at one point for Strang. That makes it that much more difficult, but he begins the year with back-to-back second-place finishes. If Russell does have a problem, and it could happen. I mean, we lost Mullins from this series in a blink of an eye with a big crash and those wrist problems. If anything besets the champ, these points could be very valuable for Strang. Although you know he's going to keep digging to try to figure out how to win these things without any bad luck on Russell. They want to beat him straight up. And a hard charge for Duval from way back. Looks like he's going to put himself on the podium on a Husqvarna for the first time. Good adjustment to a new brand for 2015. Here are your results, brought to you by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Baylor does hold on for 6th. Nice job by Bobbin in 7th. Canadian motocross rider Tyler Medaglia in the top 10, along with Benor, and Sipes recovers for 10th. And Thomas holds on to beat Davis in XC2. Trevor Bollinger 3rd. Craig DeLong 4th, and Lane Michael on the Honda ends up 5th. And nice to see Corey Buttrick, at one time a phenom in the GNCC youth ranks. A lot of injuries, back in action this year on a beta. Here is your AMSOIL race recap. Whole shot goes to Russell. Thought he might check out from there, but look at Ryan Sipes. Kept him honest early. Sipes riding very well. Then one mistake pushed him to 3rd and allowed Strang to get by. And then he got stuck in the mud. That allowed Duval and the rest to pass him. So Sipes showing signs, but not able to go error-free all the way to the end. Russell was not challenged through much of this day. 2 for 2 so far in 2015, but it's a long season and anything can happen. We'll see if he can do it the next time when you join us on Racer TV.